The right stand, I'm Anand Narsimhan, and wonder what's happening in Bengal. Because even as we were trying to reflect on what's happened in Murshidabad, triggering yet another exodus and a lot of Hindus being forced to run, there are pictures that are coming through also from Bhangar, where there's been fresh violence that's been reported through the day with the ISF cadre running amok there, and despite the cops trying to control the situation. So we'll try and, those are pictures coming in from the South 24 Parganas. We'll try and connect with Kamalika at the earliest to try and understand what's happening, because now we're given to understand that there have been vehicles that have been torched. There was a long line, a huge traffic jam, and the supporters of the ISF and their cadre, led by one of their leaders, claim that there is going to be a very peaceful protest. But look, is this peaceful? The other aspect is there a huge demographic shift that is happening, and this is non-homogeneous or non-biological? That's the bigger question. Is this a huge level of unabated illegal migration that's been allowed over the last decade and a half, if not more, that is manifest in Bengal today, especially in certain critical districts? Now, this is in South 24 Parganas. The story in Murshidabad is different. We're just going to wait for another 30 seconds and see if we can go across to Kamalika before we get a move on here on this edition of The Right Stand. But the pictures are disturbing, along with the kind of calls that are being made. Bikes have been set on fire, vehicles have been set on fire, stoned, torched. How are these people at the ready with weapons and missiles and projectiles? Look at that. Kamalika is now joining us. Kamalika, it's about 7 p.m. in the evening. What's the situation in Bhangar? I see a lot of cops behind you.
Yes, right now the situation is under control, but situation is very tense, let me tell you. And this is now, the police is not allowing people to gather any place. But you can see that this is the condition, Anand. This is the condition of the prison van which was standing here, and this is brutally vandalized. It's absolutely broken out here. And not only this, Anand, 5 bikes more were damaged here. 1 police vehicle was set on fire. And today from the morning there has been some tension in Bhangar, because ISF, they were supposed to do a rally in Kolkata. They were asked not to go for that rally in Kolkata. They blocked the road and then they broke the barricade, and after that police resorted into lathi charge, and then they were convinced, they went back. This is the area where they wanted to do some meeting, small meeting out there, which was, they were not given much permission. Suddenly there was this attack on the police. They had a fight with police, and then there was an attack on police. 1 police person is injured. 5 bikes have been damaged, and this is the condition of the prison van which was standing here. 2 people have been arrested in another portion of Bhangar, which is Ghatakpukur. There still the blockade is going on, but situation definitely is now under control, but definitely very, very tense. And this was suddenly in the evening. This again, Bhangar in the afternoon, there was trouble, there was tension. But in the evening, what happened, and police car was set on fire, that is something which is very concerning.
Well, Kamalika, you stay safe, and great work on ground, and she's been covering it and doing work from Bhangar and getting us the details across the News 18 network. Kamalika Sen-Gupta there. Let's get a move on. One really wonders what's happening in Ms. Mamata Bandyopadhyay's Bengal. Is this the Bengal that she envisaged when she came to the fore and broke the bastion of the left, came through and has been elected back-to-back thrice? Is this the Bengal that she envisaged? She's also the state's home minister, viewers. Now, in Murshidabad, scenes of mayhem. They were told their homes would be taken, that their mosques would be razed, and even their burial grounds will be swallowed by the central government under the new Waqf Amendment Act. For hundreds of migrant laborers in Murshidabad, the rumors weren't just word. Fueled by fear, manipulated by misinformation, and triggered by unfounded rumors, thousands of young men, many just in the age of 14 to 19, so a lot of them juvenile, spilled into the streets in rage, followed soon after the Friday namaz on the 11th of April. What began as scattered protests against the Waqf Law by blocking roads turned almost overnight into coordinated violence across multiple locations: Jangipur, Dhulian and Samsherganj. Government offices' vehicles were torched, trains were set on fire, police vehicles and ambulances attacked, villages of Hindus were targeted while a father and son were hacked. The aggression was focused, frenzied and officials say deeply alarming and overwhelming. What followed was an exodus of Hindus from Murshidabad fleeing to Malda. Local residents of Murshidabad have narrated the horror and have sought president's rule. Listen in.
ये और कुछ नहीं चाहिए। हम लोग को दुकान तोड़ दिया है, आदमी को मार काट दिया है, ये सब तोड़ दिया है, ये सब चोरा के ले गया, लूट पाट करके ले गया सब कुछ। हम लोग का एक तो घर में जनाना आदमी सब छोटा लड़का बच्चा है हम लोग का, कैसे घर में रखे ला चाकू छुरी लेके घर में घुस जाके मर रहा है। हम लोग क्या करेंगे, कहाँ जाएंगे हम लोग, बताइए। हम लोग
इधर बाइक वाइक जो भी था सब जला दिया है। इधर जो पार्क था एसएमआर है लॉज, ये भी तोड़ दिया है। इधर मामा का दुकान है और भी पुराना डायमंड जो है वहाँ पे मामा का दुकान है, उधर भी तोड़ फोड़ दिया है। बहुत जो दुकान में जो सामान था वो सब लेके चला गया है। आग भी लगा दिया है दुकान में, जो भी था दुकान में सब तोड़ फोड़ दिया है।
सारे घर जला दिए गई है, सारे दुकानें जला दिया गया है। ये देखिए नजारा देख लीजिए, ये नजारा देख लीजिए, दुकान का लूट कर लिया है। इसका इरादा ही ऐसा ही है, हिंदू लोग है, इसको मारो पीटो लूटो जो भी करो। हम लोग यहाँ चाहते हैं अगर शांत रहना है तो बीएसएफ कैंप एक परमानेंट रहना चाहिए। और जो तोड़फोड़ होता 4 घंटे से पहले पुलिस का कोई नाम निशान नहीं, और पुलिस स्टेशन यहाँ से एक कदम भी दूरी नहीं है।
हम लोग राष्ट्रपति शासन चाहते हैं। यहाँ अराजकता चलता है, यहाँ गुंडागर्दी चलता है। हर शुक्र जब भी कोई जुलूस होता है, शुक्रवार नमाज के बाद इधर आतंक फैलाया जाता है।
Are radicals using unrest to subvert Bharat is the question. The tension is not just limited to Murshidabad alone. Fresh violence reported in South 24 Parganas and Bhangor. We showed you 4 or 5 bikes were set ablaze. 2 people have been arrested. 1 policeman injured. Violence erupting in Sonpur village area in Bhangar, where a police vehicle was set ablaze. And we showed you what the situation was and what's happened. Union Minister Sukanta Majumdar has met the displaced Hindus in Malda and assured them. Meanwhile, Trinamool Congress MP has said that the exodus was out of panic.
बच्चे के यहाँ पे पकड़ के मारने की कोशिश की गई है। इस तरीके के भयंकर घटनाएं घट रही है जो बांग्लादेश जैसी स्थिति पश्चिम बंगाल ने ममता बनर्जी ने बना के रख दिया।
Out of panic, some people might have crossed the river and come to Malda side, but they will all go back. They're already started going back.
विरोध करने का अधिकार है, लेकिन हिंदुओं के घर घुस करके मारा जा रहा है और ममता जी की पुलिस शांत रहती है।
यहाँ पर ऐसा कोई परिस्थिति नहीं है। बंगाल से बंगाल में ही जा रहे हैं, तो बंगाल सुरक्षित है बोल के देख जाएगा, सारी जगह जा रहे हैं, सब ठीक है।
The BJP has now attacked Bengal Mayor Firhad Hakimi, who said सब ठीक है. BJP's Amit Malviya has posted on X, and I quote, "It is alarming that Firhad Hakim, a senior cabinet minister and a trusted confidant of Mamata Banerjee, is not only justifying but expressing satisfaction over the displacement of Hindus from Murshidabad. Bengali Hindus are being reduced to refugees in their own homeland like Kashmiri Pandits and who had to flee from Kashmir to escape religious persecution and seek refuge in Jammu and the rest of Bharat. An advocate has approached the Supreme Court seeking a court-monitored special investigation team probe into the violence in West Bengal's Murshidabad district over the Waqf Amendment Act. BJP has also posted West Bengal CM's response on the Waqf Law in the Assembly. Listen to this.
যে অশ্লীল কথা বলছেন, একটা ধর্মের নামে এত কুৎসা করছেন, একটা অপপ্রচার করছেন, একদিন তারা যদি একটা আন্দোলনের ডাক দেয়, আপনি নিজেকে সামলে রাখতে পারবেন তো?
If they call for an agitation, will you be able to control yourself? This is what Mamata Banerjee was heard saying on the floor of the House. It is not Mamata Banerjee alone. Leaders like Imran Masood and Jharkhand minister fear-mongering over the Waqf Law. Congress MP Imran Masood said newly amended Waqf Law will be repealed if his party comes back to power. 60 minutes mein kar denge is what he has said. Jharkhand minister Hafizul Hasan Ansari has been heard saying Shariat first and then Samvidhan. Let's go across to our guests on this and take this whole conversation forward. Are radicals deliberately attempting to subvert Bharat is the question that we are asking. Charu Pragya, national spokesperson of the BJP, is with us. Saira Shah Halim, leader of the CPIM, with us. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, commentator and scientist, with us. Wonder what science behind this mayhem and madness in Bengal, Dr. Anand Ranganathan. But first up, Shabnam De. You know Shabnam De, if I may ask you, and just start after this, it's the panelists who will speak. The immovable properties in Murshidabad district, 94.72% is agricultural land. Only 5.28% of Waqf land in Murshidabad is physical properties, and of this, mosques, dargahs, graveyards will be taken away karke daraya. It's only 3%, ma'am. 3% of the Waqf land in Murshidabad is mosques, dargahs and graveyards. 95% of it is agricultural land. So who's fear mongering? Who's telling them that तुम्हारी जमीनें छिन जाएंगी, मस्जिद दरगाह छिन जाएंगे, सपनम दे?
Thank you for inviting me to today's debate on this unrest, which is the product of the oppositions in collusion connivance with other parties to make the state unrest. Just at the timing of Bangladesh unrest, Waqf bill has been introduced and an amendment bill has been introduced, and our Trinamool Congress chairperson already has stated that some political parties are trying to misuse this religion for political gain. They're trying to showcase, like Bangladesh, as Sheikh Hasina, that Mamata Banerjee will be dismantled. That cannot be happen because this is West Bengal, this is not Bangladesh. And why this ad hoc amendment, Waqf amendment bill has been introduced by the central, by PM? What is the fear in that? That is also diabolical political fears for that to gain this power in Bengal soil. That is very difficult for them. Whether it is 3% or agricultural land, Waqf lands are all in the name of Allah, which has been given in the trust, but sometimes by donation, sometimes by through of conveyance of trust in name of Allah. So this is the very sentimental and very soft points to be actually not only discussed and debated and nurtured through a committee heading with tall chief minister. But this was not done. On the contrary, it has been done in a very hottest with an autocracy, and that is the ruling that yes, autocracy, and that is the mean that we are in the power, we can make any sort of amendment in the midnight and no opposition can make that oppose to that bill. So this unrest has been,
or she completely does not understand constitutional processes, because let me tell you, point number one, a JPC was called to discuss this bill. A JPC basically means representatives of all political parties, madam. Since you don't seem to know the basics, let me tell you that. After decisions and deliberations that went on in the JPC, this bill was tabled. Point number two, when all the parliamentarians of our country of both the houses put a bill to vote, how is it that you can just write it off? It is completely constitutional and you are just upset about certain things. Lastly and most importantly, you know, the way you have been spreading misinformation about Waqf is shameful, and I will tell you why. There are youngsters on the streets out there who actually believe unke masjid, unka dargah gira diya jayega, who actually believe their land will be taken away from them. On the contrary, people who've lost their lands, those poor Muslims who've lost their land, have a chance to get it back now. What is your problem if there is a system of audit? Are you against audit? What is your problem if there is a system of having a central database? What is your problem if we say that if there is an issue, why can it not go to the court? Why can it not go the regular, usual way like any other land dispute would? I'll tell you why it's a problem. Because for the longest time, Waqf has been misused. It's not been used for the welfare of Muslims. It's not been used for the welfare of young children, women. It's been used for the welfare of political people and land mafias. Land has been sold off for 12,000 rupees only to a 5-star hotel. And I can get into lots and lots of places where there has been instances of opposition leaders actually complaining कि ये वक़्फ़ की ज़मीन थी, ये किसी और ने हड़प ली. So then you didn't seem to have a problem. And understand this law is only going to be impacting and improving the lives of Muslims on ground, like every single law of Bharatiya Janata Party has done. And that is your problem, because no longer your politics of appeasement is finding root. You know, you have created anarchy in a place where you should be handing books to youngsters, you're giving them bombs. When procession should be protected, you're actually endorsing attacking them. And how is your justice? Completely arbitrary. In fact, let me not even say arbitrary. If somebody is a voter of your political party, they get a license. They get a license to throw petrol bombs, to attack the cops, to destroy public and private property, and then they have people like you who come on national television defending all of this.
No, okay, Sabnam, they respond.
Defending not. What you are trying to do is that with the misuse of this Waqf bill, when there is an unrest
Ma'am,
in the
can I pointedly ask you what part of the amendment you have an issue with? Have you been through the amendment? Can I pointedly ask you what provision of it you have a problem with? No, Anand, none of them know. None of them know what the amendments are. No, can you tell me what provision of the amendment you have a problem with?
Mamata Banerjee has come to power, and they wanted to dismantle in many ways. Sometimes Shandeshkali by means of Waqf Act. Like this way, they are trying to dismantle the state democracy and to bring anarchy. That is the misuse of the.
One minute, Shabnam De. If this reform is going to help the poor Muslims of Bengal and across the country, Ms. Mamata Bandyopadhyay should use it to her advantage. Why is she looking at why is she looking at it as disadvantage? Is the Bengal Waqf Board superbly managed? What are the revenue collection of the Bengal Waqf Board compared to its land holdings? Has an audit been done? Can you put those numbers out? You've used some amazing adjectives without one naya paisa of proof. So this may be and therefore will not work. You please tell me, Shabnam De, what is the total land holding of Bengal Waqf Board? And what is the revenue that they connect? And how many charitable institutions that they have built for the poor, the underprivileged, the Mahila or the Devijis or the orphans? What is the, please give me those numbers. Saira Shah Ali, what do you think is going on in Bengal right now?
See, firstly, let me state very clearly that whatever is transpiring in Bengal, neither the central government nor the governor of West Bengal has made a single comment condemning this incident. Now, if you are going to pass down divisive laws, year after year or every 5 years, just to mobilize, your vote share, which, happens to be a certain sentiment that BJP shares with. Now in Bengal, what is happening? There's a reverse consolidation by the TMC, because the question is, why is the governor silent? Why is the GOI silent? And here, if you look at, the Waqf Law, more than 3 people have died. A father and son have been hacked to death. More than 15 policemen have been injured, and Calcutta High Court had to intervene to order the deployment of Central Armed Forces, which is very tragic. If the law that has been passed, the bill, if it's so peaceful and there are no apprehensions, why this violence? The point is, the Bharatiya Janata Party enjoys these divisive acts. They want society to be segregated on religious and communal grounds, and who's going to benefit from the violence? The Bharatiya Janata Party, because you will see all kinds of divisive laws being implemented just for electoral gains. And I think instead of concentrating on getting society together, instead of joining communities together, they are simply what seems like they're benefiting from these unfortunate incidents that just causes despair, anxiety, and then people come on the roads, they're protesting. And also I want to iterate once again, Bengal has witnessed the largest sacking of 26,000 teachers because of this teacher recruitment scam. We've seen how these teachers were recruited, right?
Yeah.
And now in this recruitment scam, a lot of teachers have been were appointed in a legitimate manner. However, they've lost their job. Now, Trinamool Congress, I want to say, wants to discredit the whole, rebellion against this whole teacher recruitment scam. So So it becomes a very convenient, deflection to let this violence, remain or prevail, because it's a very important deflection point. So here, I think both the parties, it seems, are somehow connected in creating this atmosphere of fear, anxiety, unsurety, and divisiveness for electoral gains.
Charupragya respond and then Dr.
Okay,
Ranganath.
I want to pointedly ask you, how is it divisive? Tell me. If there is a reform, which is a land and a property reform, by the way, which is exactly the same as the reform for any other public trust, the way it should be, why is that a problem? Please tell me that, Saira. Because you say this is divisive. On the contrary, this unites. On the contrary, this makes way for minorities within the community to be represented, for women to be represented. Saira, listen to me. Listen me out and then you can respond. Saira, listen to what I'm trying to say. Now, when there can be an audit in a temple trust, when there can be an audit in a Gurdwara trust, why do you have a problem if we want to ask for an audit in this particular place? Also, please don't forget... Saira, I'm asking you pointed questions. I'm asking you pointed questions and you, like the other panelists on the channel, you've got no answers to this.
1 second. No, let me add. I've heard you. Now let me add. Now, where in the prevailing atmosphere, where every day you hear that now there is going to be a surveillance on a mosque to decipher whether it was a temple or a mosque that belonged in the 6th century.
One minute.
She's digressing.
Okay,
she's digressing because the government has very clearly stated.
One minute. I'll tell you. Saira Shah Halim. If this you, Saira ji,
ABC place.
Saira ji, no. Saira ji. 1 minute. I'm going to request our panelists to be responsible for the position they hold. Saira ji.
If it is an audit,
Saira ji.
make sure it is an audit.
Saira Shah Halim.
Everything going on in the country.
Okay, Saira Shah Halim. Sambal is an ASI protected monument and that ASI protected monument has been donated to Waqf. So what a travesty. How can government land without anybody's permission, which is supposed to be ASI, be go to the Waqf and nobody can. No, so that's one. Secondly, women had no say under Waqf. If the Bengal Waqf board mandates two women to be present and to be there to ensure where the money and the Waqf collection land revenues are going, and you are one of them, would you say no to it? And it is open to all communities. No, are you saying reform will be opposed because Modi government proposes it? Reform will be reflected. 1 minute, ma'am. I didn't speak over you, ma'am. I didn't speak over you. Are you saying you will oppose any reform that is big because it is coming from the Modi government? And this will reflect in violence and mayhem. And why should the Hindus who are living in Murshidabad have to flee? Why should they be targeted? If this is not a program and a design, it's a deliberate design. So how will a Hindu trust any Muslim now? If this is how Muslims are going to behave, they're going to pull out Hindus and women and force them to flee their homes. And this is in the border areas where the whole demographic shift is happening. What are you saying, Saira Shah Halim? 1 minute. Dr. Ranganathan has been patient. Dr. Ranganathan, from the times of the left to the current times, this allowing unbridled immigration of illegal immigrants into Bengal and allowing them to settle. Is this what we are seeing here in Murshidabad? And the Murshidabad MP is a cricketer, former cricketer, who came all the way from Gujarat to dislodge a Congress veteran.
Yeah. Good evening and good evening to my fellow panelists. Well, this perfidy, there is no other way to describe it, was entirely predictable. People are on the
Saira ji, you're not audible. Please, let's try not to speak over each other. He did not speak all this while. Please allow him the courtesy, ma'am. Let Anand Ranganathan speak. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Yes, go ahead, please.
I was saying, Anand, this perfidy was entirely predictable. That people are now shifting the goalposts, and rather than talk about the pogrom that is happening right before our eyes against Hindus, they're kind of justifying it, rationalizing it, because it's been kick-started by the Waqf and the so-called discrimination that this government has meted out. The fact of the matter is, can anybody tell me, did Bindan Das or Chandan Das, the two father and son who were lynched by a Muslim mob, know anything about Waqf? Can anybody tell me how far will you take this action-reaction theory? Because you use the same action-reaction theory to justify the Nagpur riots, because you said people incited the mob by burning an effigy of Aurangzeb. You justified this action-reaction theory by saying that the bomb blasts of 1993 were justified because they followed the riots that happened against Muslims. But then when it comes to Godhra, you suddenly gobble up this action-reaction theory. You don't say that the anti-Muslim riots were a result of the 59 car sevaks who were burnt. Then what happens? This is the problem with such illogical and irrational people. Rather than talking about the tragedy that is happening, I did not interrupt, and this is very unbecoming. This is a hallmark of being rattled. When people try and disturb your train of thought because they are so rattled because their hypocrisy is being exposed. I did not say. Can I please continue, because I need by 2.5 minutes, a very serious topic, and this needs to be said. Can I please be given the courtesy of 2.5 minutes, Anand?
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. The fact of the matter is, Hindus are lynched, scores seriously injured, Hindu property burned, destroyed, hundreds of Hindus forced into fleeing for their lives and becoming refugees in their own land. Welcome to a republic where mob strength comes from an appeasing and cowardly state, where the inevitable vacuum that is created when justice and rule of law whooshes away is filled at once by anarchy and bloodshed. Welcome to a republic where Hindus are being made to choose between suffering one who is powerless to act and another who is acting powerless. Made to choose between one who has turned a blind eye and another who is pretending to be blind. Welcome to the Islamic Republic of India, where when you look right, there's a mob with Molotovs in hand glaring down at you. When you look left, there are intellectuals and academics itching to cancel and deprive you of your livelihood. Where when you look up, there's an effigy of yours swaying gently from a cable, and where when you look down, there's a freshly dug trench smelling of damp earth waiting for you to fall in, right next to where you and thousands have collected as refugees in their own land. Fifth time, Anand, in 5 years in Bengal, Diamond Harbour, Birbhum, Nadia, 24 Parganas, Murshidabad, when Hindus have had to flee their homes in thousands become refugees. You watched the first time, and now you are made to watch every time. Welcome. This is not our future. This is now our present. And resistance is futile, submission is inevitable. Anand, we are an army of men and we can only follow, never lead like a one-man army. So there will be no more brave gurus, no more Banda Bahadurs or Shivajis. We are the sheep being led by Mahatmas or those who want to become Mahatmas to the slaughterhouse where la guillotine awaits. And as you wait for your turn, you can hear its distant rumble and then snap. Anand, remember 2 years ago where in town after town, Delhi, Ranchi, Ludhiana, Prayagraj, Saharanpur, in state after state, Bengal, Maharashtra, Punjab, UP, there were reports of widespread arson and rioting and attacks. The sounds of azan were subsumed by the chants of Sartan Se Juda. Scores were killed, and for what? Outrage over a Hindu quoting Islamic scriptures? What has changed? You may hate his guts, but Akbaruddin Owaisi was absolutely correct. The only thing that stands between Hindus and their total annihilation in this state is the police. Remove it for 15 minutes and it's all over. Anand, they say the darkest hour is before dawn. But where is the dawn? I want to ask Didi and her Albert Spears, how many Bengal stories will you hide? You hit the 2024 post-poll violence, the brazen attack on BJP voters, withholding of funds to districts that voted BJP, blocking their water supply. But then you also hit the 2021 post-poll violence, didn't you? The murderous attack on ED officials, the Ram Navami violence, arrests of doctors who complained of COVID mismanagement, jail for sharing Didi cartoons, slapping of UAPO on Bhangra activists, sedition charges on journalists, threats of stopping government ads, political murders, ethnic cleansing, alleged systemic sexual assault and torture of women in Sandesh Kali. Are you also going to hide the fleeing of hundreds of Hindus from Murshidabad? Just 30 seconds. How many acres of carpet would you need to hide all this? Remember TMC Sheikh Alam, who boasted that 4 Pakistan can be created if 30% Muslims come together? How long, Anand, before the slogans equivalent to Ralif, Salif, Galif are heard in Bengal like they were in Kashmir 30 years ago? Where are all those who accuse Modi of killing democracy at the drop of a hat? Where are they hiding? They keep saying we speak truth to power, truth to power. In reality, they speak truth only to Modi, not when those in power are Didi. Just 10 seconds. Go on then. Hide even this ethnic cleansing and attempted genocide. But when you sleep tonight, think of the wife of the lynched Har Gobind Das. Think of the son, Chandan Das, lynched because a mob wants to restore a discriminatory Waqf Act.
Do they even care to think, Dr. Ranganathan? You know, it's a long list, but my only question to Charu Pragya is, the last time the voters of Bengal took you in the assembly from 7 to 77. They were made to run around the streets of Bengal in those 48 hours when there was no administration. What confidence are you going to give anybody there? How are these people going to turn to? Who are they going to turn to?
Anand, if you have looked at the testimonials that are coming from Murshidabad even today, they say they feel safe only because of the presence of central forces, not because of state police, not because of any kind of state machinery. In fact, that has completely collapsed. It's only because of the intervention of the central forces. And that is confidence coming BJP's way. Now, Mamta Didi has wreaked havoc, and how? She has made sure that political violence is not just institutionalized, it's encouraged. It's encouraged, and she turns a blind eye every single time. And it's not law and order here. There is no such thing as law and order. It is lawlessness, and then she pretends that that is the order that she wants in the state. So in the days to come, I am sure that the people of Bengal would have realized that in the last 5 years of West Bengal's governance, last 5 years, do you know, in 1 year alone there have been more than 200 incidents of political violence. All these perpetrators have been linked to the TMC in one way or the other.
What has the central government and the BJP done about it is a question, because it's a litany of incidences that have been listed out by Dr. Ranganathan. Even 30 seconds out of his 3 minutes that he has taken, if that had been taken cognizance of, something would have been done. In this case, what is going to be done is the question. And look at the paradigm of safety in Bengal. The next district has got central forces, so I'm safe there, so let me leave my home for it to burn. Wow. Is that the safety that we would like to carry in our country? Think about it. We've just got more news coming through, and this is a security challenge. This is security. We stay on with Bengal. It's a security challenge, huge one at that. We've got more inputs coming in from Manoj Kumar Gupta, our Group Editor, Investigations and Security Affairs. Bharat's eastern frontier is at significant risk due to the activities of the Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh, JMB, which is linked to the ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Top intelligence sources have told CNN News 18. These connections could turn to Bengal and turn Bengal into a hub for transnational attacks. The JMB, motivated by its Salafist ideology and to establish a Sharia-based caliphate, has exploited the unrest in Bengal. Intel sources indicate that the Trinamool Congress government's management of communal tensions combined with the JMB's resurgence poses a threat not only to Bengal but to Bharat and Bharat's entire eastern frontier. Protests in the region have mirrored tactics used by the JMB orchestrated violence in Bangladesh, where anti-government rallies often conceal extremist agendas. Disenchanted youth facing unemployment and feeling marginalized are being recruited through madrasas and social media. That's what sources are telling CNN News 18. Bengal's porous borders with Bangladesh, characterized by fencing gaps on the riverine routes, facilitate the smuggling of arms, funds and propaganda by JMB operatives. The discovery of fake Aadhaar cards in Noida in 2024 highlights the militants' ability to blend into local communities. JMB collaborates with Assam's AQIS modules and Myanmar-based Rohingya militants, creating a regional terror network. JMB sleeper cells, already connected to blasts in Bodh Gaya and Patna, could target critical infrastructure, potentially causing radical spillover into Assam, Tripura and Bihar, which would strain resources and escalate Hindu-Muslim tensions. That's what sources have said. There's more. JMB's operations are funded through counterfeit currency, drug trafficking and Hawala networks with links to Pakistan's ISI. Recent seizures in Siliguri revealed 2 crore in fake notes meant for JMB modules. Leaders like Salahuddin Ahmed, wanted for the 2016 cafe siege in Bangladesh, operate from border villages in Bengal using madrasas as cover. That's what sources have further added. And there are more inputs. JMB is using hybrid approach in radicalizing youth with a mix of online and offline tactics. JMB is recruiting tech-savvy youth through platforms like Telegram and WhatsApp, sharing encrypted messages and ISIS-inspired content to glorify violence. The group exploits filter bubbles and echo chambers, where algorithms push extremist content to users already engaging with radical material. Vulnerable individuals, especially those experiencing social alienation, are groomed online. Studies show that lone actors radicalized often online lack offline networks but are influenced by curated extremist content. JMB's ground operations focus on exploiting local institutions and socio-economic gaps and have penetrated madrasa and Muslim groups. Unregulated madrasas in the border districts Murshidabad, Dhubri serve as fronts for indoctrination. Radical clerics preach JMB's Salafist ideology, framing violence as jihad for Sharia. Unemployed youth in impoverished areas are lured with financial incentives or promises of purpose. For example, JMB operatives in Assam's Dhubri district use fake currency and firearms to recruit members. Top intel sources have further told CNN News 18 that platforms like Telegram, Signal or WhatsApp are being used to organize protests, assigning roles, blockade leaders, agitators, and also they share real-time instructions. All this is being done. In the Waqf Bill-led protests, encrypted groups coordinated attacks on police stations in Murshidabad, blockades, attacks on railways and communal slogans were hallmarks both of CAA 2019 and also what's being witnessed now. Pre-positioned weapons, stones, petrol bombs, blockade materials, tires, bamboo poles, etc. Medical supplies were used for both protests. Similar modus is being seen in Guna. It was also seen in Nagpur in Mahal. During CAA protests, caches of stones were hidden near railway tracks in Howrah. Symbolic targets, Hindu-owned shops, police stations, railway infrastructure, all chosen to maximize communal tension. Circulation of doctored videos, old clips of police brutality rebranded as current atrocities, further being pushed to fuel anger. Dr. Ranganathan with us. Dr. Ranganathan, final comment. Now, this seems to be a template. We see what's happening in Guna. Again, they said they came ready. Same thing happened in Mahal. Same thing happened even post the India-Pakistan match and the way things happened. What we are seeing here in Bangor or in Murshidabad, there seems to be a coordination that's going on. And are you worried that you will have a lot of radicals moving in from Bangladesh because the larger intent of these radicals is a greater Bangladesh? Is Kolkata next? Some of the BJP spokespersons are also worried.
Sorry, Anand. Very quickly, 3 points here. Number one, first of all, congratulations to you and Manoj for bringing out this report. I completely agree with you. We're on the same page. This is totally coordinated. In fact, I would go as far as to say that every recent riot that has happened, so-called, pogrom that has happened after at least a week's preparation. We saw it in Nagpur. We saw how a legislator was responsible for it and the money came in, the conduits were there, everything is ready. But here I want to make 3 points. Now, this JMB is a banned terror outfit. It's a banned terror outfit. Now, why is it banned? Because it's a terror outfit. If it was not a terror outfit, if it was, for example, teaching molecular biology, then it wouldn't be banned. So, it is perpetrating terror because that is what it is supposed to do. The question again I ask is, what are we supposed to do? We have to tackle it knowing very well that there is almost perfect coordination between 7 or 8 entities, one of them being JMB. There are intellectuals. We saw this is a complete template, as you said, in urban Naxals and Naxalism as well. Absolutely copybook style. So you have people who defended the lawyers when terrorists are arrested. You have terror with modules being funded from outside. So you have 6 or 7 entities that are perpetrating this. Now, are you saying that the state is oblivious to it? Obviously not. But I need to know this as a fact. Why is it that every time our state cries that Mamata is not allowing BSF to actually have a free run across the corridor to stop illegal immigration and make fences? Is it not the state's prerogative to completely override whatever objections, deliberate appeasing objections the state might have? It is. Yeah. That is what a common citizen would concur, isn't it? Well. So the fact of the matter is we cannot play victim. We cannot use the victim card because that shows to the terror outfits and the terrorists that we are weak. And honestly, I'm telling you, we are not. Any state that has abrogated 370 where the world would have erupted, any state that has conducted surgical strikes is not weak. Problem is, we are selective in being strong. We need to remove that. We need to put the fear of God in these terrors, Anand. This is what we need to do.
And not just fear of God, we need to also show the fear and the might of the Constitution, might of the Indian state. And I think that we will go to any lengths to protect our boundaries, our territories and our people. And once that becomes a doctrine, which is not used selectively, but it's all pervading and it applies to each and every case, perhaps then we'll have some resolution. Dr. Ranganathan, thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. We're going to take a very short break on that note. When we come back, a fugitive who's now been arrested, his extradition sooner than later. Stay with us. We get you details on Mehul Choksi.
Mama must Hello, my name is Todd Inman. We had an NTSB GO team that arrived in Albany, New York last night. We're beginning the investigation into a fatal crash involving a Mitsubishi MU-2B40 aircraft in the area. Now, before I go any further, on behalf of everyone at the NTSB, I want to express our sincere condolences for the families, the survivors, the families, and everyone who knew someone that perished in this accident. We're truly sorry. On April 12th, at approximately 12:06 Eastern Daylight Time, a Mitsubishi MU-2B40 with tail number November 635 Tango Alpha crashed 10 miles from the Columbia County Airport. This occurred near State Route 23 and Two Town Road. The flight was being operated as a Part 91 flight. The aircraft had departed Westchester County Airport, airport code HPN, when a crash occurred in what we would call a flat agricultural field. The NTSB does not release information in regard to anyone who may be a victim of any of these accidents. That will be solely left to the county coroner's office. We will not release that in any way, shape, or form. So the question was again about the number of people or fatalities. I can tell you that we have verified there were 6 people on board. I can say that all 6 were removed from the scene. We have no one hospitalized at this time. Any other questions regarding that, I would, again, local authorities and the county coroner. The scene is approximately 100 yards in length, with the aircraft being compressed, buckled, and embedded into the terrain. Now we have recovered and obtained at this point a video of the actual crash in the final seconds. The video, as we've seen in just in the last hour, we were able to retain a higher quality version, appears to show that the aircraft was intact and crashed at a high rate of descent into the ground.
During the approach at Columbia County Airport, the pilot reported a missed approach. He requested vectors for another approach, and as he is being vectored, the radar indicated a low altitude alert. The ATC controller attempted to relay this low altitude alert to the pilot and also tried to contact him 3 additional times. Unfortunately, he was unsuccessful. There was no response from the pilot, and there was no distress call.
I can tell you that this plane was sold approximately a year ago, and based
Absconding diamantaire Mehul Choksi was arrested in Belgium for his involvement in the 13,000 crore plus Punjab National Bank loan fraud case. The action against Choksi, a prime suspect in the case, was taken on Saturday in the wake of an extradition request by the CBI and the Enforcement Directorate. Choksi, who fled Bharat in 2018 and took up citizenship in Antigua, had surfaced in Belgium last year, apparently for medical treatment. The other prime suspect in this case is his nephew, diamantaire Nirav Modi. Nirav Modi remains incarcerated in a Westminster prison in London, where he has been detained since his arrest in March 2019 on an extradition warrant filed by Bharatiya authorities. He was denied bail for the 7th time in May 2024. Charges against Choksi are defrauding Punjab National Bank of 13,500 crore rupees, siphoned off rupees 13,500 crore via fraudulent letters of undertaking, money laundering under PMLA Act. 4th, forgery of financial documents, charge number 5, criminal conspiracy and breach of trust. Let's look at India's 7-year case for Choksi. 2018 February, CBI begins efforts to trace Mehul Choksi. August 2018, Mehul Choksi's presence confirmed in Antigua. CBI sends extradition request to Antigua. That happens in August 2018. Then July 2019, 2,534 crore worth of assets of Mehul Choksi, Nirav Modi attached. Feb 2021, ED attaches Choksi's assets worth another 14.5 crore rupees. May 2021, Mehul Choksi detained in Dominica. May 2021, CBI team goes to Dominica to bring Choksi back. July 2021, Dominica High Court allows Choksi's return to Antigua. March 2025, Choksi's presence in Belgium is confirmed. April 2025, Choksi is arrested on the Indian authorities' request. So what are the clauses of the extradition treaty? 1. Both sides are obligated to extradite individuals. 2. Offences related to revenue and forgery are included in the clauses of extradition or agreement to extradite. Offence has to be punishable in both nations, and it can be refused in case of political and military offences. Question is, will Mehul Choksi walk the Malya road? Because Team Malya argued that prisons in Bharat do not meet international standards, deteriorating health and impediment, and against the dual criminality condition. Now, these were the aspects, but mind you, that is the United Kingdom, this is Belgium. With Belgium, we have an extradition treaty in place. Joining us now is lawyer Pinky Anand, and let's try and understand the entire legal process now. Pinky ji, namaste. This is Anand Narsimhan here. Thank you for speaking with us here at CNN News 18. Mehul Choksi has been arrested in Belgium. The first preliminary report suggests that he has falsified documents, and his existence as an Indian citizen and the cases against him and what's happened in Antigua has not been divulged to the Belgian authorities. How do you read the situation, and from here on, how soon or how late will it be that he is brought back to Bharat or extradited?
See, ultimately the position is when a person is arrested and he is accused of a crime in India, then the extradition process has to start and ultimately end up into a position where he's brought to it. And we are, of course, very fortunate. We have an immediate background of Rahul Rana, who was brought in, of course, in a different context. This is a huge scam, issue of a commercial nature, no doubt. But the point remains that here you will have to have him, he's appealing. He's asking for mercy on grounds of cancer treatments and from what the reports indicate, and also on the ground that he may not get a fair trial, which is a usual plea, as you've seen, taken up by Vijay Mallya or even the Rahul Rana. Broadly the same kind of arguments. But we have an extradition treaty with Belgium, and that treaty ultimately envisages certain exceptions, and to my mind, he doesn't fall within those exceptions. Now, for example, some of them are political, military and other things. He doesn't really fall in that. And as long as there is no ground, then I think it depends on the will of the governments also. I do think the will of the governments, which are under consideration, is a very important thought process in the whole thing happening. I again give the example of Rana. I think aside from other features, he tried every plea in the book to not be extradited to India. But all of those pleas were rejected. And on the other hand, you have Vijay Mallya, who is still in England, and it is ultimately, I believe, at the stage of the government acceptance of the extradition. So, as I said, to my mind, there seems to be no impediment legally for him to be brought to India under the extradition treaty. But of course, it will go through its own process, and once he's brought to India, naturally he will be tried in accordance with law for the entire process of commercial mishaps, scams, 13,000 crores, cheating the people, duping the people, the conspiracy, which are features.
Well, the top line of the Bharat-Belgium extradition treaty says allows transfer of fugitives accused of serious crimes such as murder, rape, manslaughter, bigamy, forgery, counterfeiting, embezzlement and fraud. So last 4 or 5 clauses Mr. Mehul Choksi ticks as far as the charges against him. So in this case, is this now more about the political equation between the two nations, a certain level of diplomacy that comes into play?
It always comes in. In matters of international spheres, it is not only the legal process, it is definitely the diplomacy also that matters. And at this present point of time, I think India is very fortunate. Our diplomatic relations internationally are well known, and our credibility in its own and sovereignty is well taken into consideration. I think everybody really wants to cooperate. So let's hope that Belgium will cooperate under the extradition treaty on the diplomatic level. Of course, legal processes will happen, not that they won't happen. If he's asking for pleas on the ground of being, let's say, tortured in India or requiring medical treatment of cancer, suddenly it's come up. I haven't heard this before. But all these usual pleas again, when you have accused, you do have them raising pleas of medical grounds one way or the other. It's known of. But whether that is actually correct or not correct, and whether that will merit any human rights, because this is the ground. Human rights, political, no due process of law, torture in jail in India. I mean, these are the patent grounds that have been coming up. But to my mind, I don't envisage this becoming an impediment, and I think he will be extradited shortly as soon as the legal process is sorted.
Well, he's tried a lot of after Antigua rejected his citizenship and said he is persona non grata. He tried to go to Dominica. He tried to see if he could function in those Caribbean islands and those nations somewhere. Interesting that it is via his wife that he's actually reached Belgium. And also the ongoing proceedings. The information says 22nd of March, his lawyers in Bharat informed the courts that Mehul Choksi may be in Belgium for treatment. So clearly they are aware of what's going on.
Well, you're right. I mean, there have been, I would say, not only Antigua, but I would say antiques that are tried. So you have, in fact, we all know that he tried the plea of saying that he was abducted into Dominica. He didn't go of his own will. So, I mean, you find all these pleas being taken. As I said, if you see criminal offences, even regular ones, you find people suddenly developing medical problems. You suddenly find people alleging some kind of conspiracy against them. It is very standard because you want to really be prevented from being tried in India. Because that is where the offence has occurred. And he would be ultimately prosecuted here, and whatever the punishment that the law has for each of these misfeasance, scams and conspiracies and fraud, as you rightly said, it comes squarely within the provisions of the extradition.
Now,
so having said that, I mean, I see no ground why it would not be, he would not be extradited.
Well, in your wisdom, do you see the Belgium authorities, the Belgium government, or allowing him to knock the courts in Belgium, or will they honor the extradition treaty and hand him across to Bharat without any more further legal tangles and proceedings in Belgium? How do you see this panning out, and would you want to hazard putting out a timeline here, 6 months, 1 year, or sooner?
I would imagine that he would have the recourse to law. One thing we all pride ourselves in the country as well as internationally is the process of law. So whatever you may say, ultimately whether my position is that he won't succeed, but he does have the opportunity to at least plead the necessary part in the courts. I mean, as I said again, in Rana's case, he tried it 3 times over. It's not that he didn't try. So everybody would try and he would be granted. He has to be heard. Whatever it is, whether dismissed, my belief is that it will be dismissed because of the background of the information that we all have received regarding his transfers to various places, the sudden development of medical problems. So his past record doesn't seem to be all that clean to entitle him for any benefits whatsoever. But yes, about 6 months, some legal processes would take some time. It's not that you can pick up an accused and straight away extradite him. He has the right to go even under the extradition treaty. I mean, I do believe that he's also trying to raise a ground of political nature. Sustainable or not, to my belief not. But he would be raising almost anything in the book. So that due process of law would take some time. I would imagine something like 6 months.
Well, 13,000 crore is no small amount, and even the Belgians would agree there, hopefully. And the other aspect is in terms of cancer treatment, we've got some of the topmost cancer facilities in Bharat. So might as well bring him to justice and also help him find a cure here sooner than later. Pinky Anandji, thank you very much. Right, let's get a move on now and bring you up to speed on 2 big achievements. The Gujarat Anti-Terrorist Squad and the Indian Coast Guard intercepted and seized over 300 kilograms of suspected methamphetamine with an estimated street value of 1,800 crore rupees from the Arabian Sea and near the Indian Maritime Boundary Line, or the IMBL. The joint operation, conducted between the night of 12th of April and early hours of April 13, was triggered by actionable intelligence regarding suspicious movements off the coast of Gujarat, a region increasingly becoming the front line of Bharat's war on drugs. Home Minister Amit Shah posted on Platform X, the Modi government is rooting out drug networks ruthlessly in the ceaseless pursuit of building a drug-free Bharat. A monumental feat was achieved by seizing 300 kilograms of narcotics worth 1,800 crore near the international maritime border. This operation in the seas is a shining example of the success of the Modi government's whole of the government approach to rooting out the evil of narcotics. And in a historic breakthrough, recently, Bharat successfully conducted trials of a laser-based directed energy weapon system capable of disabling fixed-wing and swarm drones. With this, Bharat has entered an elite group of only 4 nations alongside the US, Russia and China that possess such advanced capability. Indian Army has used the new DRDO laser to neutralize Chinese drones near the LOC. A Chinese-origin drone reportedly operated by the Pakistan Army was brought down near the line of control in Jammu by the Indian Army using an indigenous anti-drone system. Defense sources confirmed confirmed that the drone was spotted near the Indian territory in the 16 Corps area south of the Pir Panjal ranges. Army air defense units responded quickly. The unmanned aerial vehicle was intercepted using the integrated drone detection and interdiction system designed and developed entirely in Bharat. The system, which can jam signals, spoof drone navigation and destroy aerial targets, has been deployed in large numbers along the country's borders, and in this instance it was decisive. Bharat's new laser weapon system, now combat ready, is deployable across military platforms, and this laser-based system can take down aircraft, drones, missiles and swarms. Development places Bharat among a few of the nations with such technology. A more powerful 300 kilowatt laser system named Surya is currently in development. The 300 kilowatt laser system named Surya will counter threats at ranges up to 20 kilometers. These systems are mobile, multi-platform and equipped with 360-degree EOR sensors. India joins US, China, Russia and Israel in possessing advanced laser-based weapons. DRDO leadership views this as part of Bharat's vision for Star Wars-like defense capability, marks a strategic deterrent shift amid growing drone threats and regional tensions. With that, we call it a wrap on this edition of The Right Stand. Brass tacks after the break. Stay with us here on CNN News 18. Bye for now.
Brought to you by
Hello, my name is Todd Inman. We had an NTSB GO team that arrived in Albany, New York last night. We're beginning the investigation into a fatal crash involving a Mitsubishi MU-2B40 aircraft in the area. Now, before I go any further, on behalf of everyone at the NTSB, I want to express our sincere condolences for the families, the survivors, the families, and everyone who knew someone that perished in this accident. We're truly sorry. On April 12th, at approximately 12:06 Eastern Daylight Time, a Mitsubishi MU-2B40 with tail number November 635 Tango Alpha crashed 10 miles from the Columbia County Airport. This occurred near State Route 23 and Two Town Road. The flight was being operated as a Part 91 flight. The aircraft had departed Westchester County Airport, airport code HPN, when a crash occurred in what we would call a flat agricultural field. The NTSB does not release information in regard to anyone who may be a victim of any of these accidents. That will be solely left to the county coroner's office. We will not release that in any way, shape, or form. So the question was again about the number of people or fatalities. I can tell you that we have verified there were 6 people on board. I can say that all 6 were